What's up, everyone? Episode 4 has begun of the Knowledge Boner podcast. I'm your host, Dylan Starr, with my co host, Wally Wynn. Wally, what's up, man?
What is up, Knowledge Boner audience, people?
Knowledge Boner audience. So, hopefully, people are excited as we are to gain knowledge and to learn new shit. We may get a little extreme with it, but hey, we love learning new things. So, today, we talked about it. We really want to kind of dive into, goal setting and the importance of it. I know a lot of people, whether it's in health, wealth, kind of like romance, whatever it is that they want to do and accomplish. It's always funny when you speak to those people and they want to accomplish something and you ask them the question, well, cool. When do you want to achieve this by? What's your goal? And then they'll be like, well, what do you mean? It's like, what the fuck do you think it means? Like, do you not, like, how do you think you're going to get to whatever it is you want to accomplish without a goal? Like, you have to be very fucking intentional about everything that you do. And every successful person I have ever met, it's funny, they either have it on them, written down at home or on them or on their phone. So if you do have a goal or anything and you haven't like literally physically put pen to paper and written it down, like the odds, I think it was something ridiculous. Like you have like a 90% chance you'll never achieve it. Right. So, we're going to dive into goal setting, why it's important, how to become intentional, and kind of how to, backtrack whatever your goal is. So, why don't you give them an example, Wally, of like what we mean, and how to kind of start that process.
Absolutely. I'm going to start this with a story that literally just happened the other day. Like, it's very, very fresh in my brain. And and so basically, I'm going to tell the story. It's going to be a little long, might be a couple minutes, but it's totally worth the listen. I think we will get a lot of value out of it. But so basically, I live over here in Dallas, and so I stay with one of my brothers, and you know, so if you guys listen to the other episode of the podcast, you kind of know what happened to me in the last couple months here, so you know why I'm in Dallas. Anyway, so we'll talk about. So go back and listen to it if you didn't, but come back now, and so we're going to talk about this. And so anyway, my brother, he's a pretty successful guy. He a lot of, I'm Asian, so typically dealing with other Asian people is what we do. And what I mean by that is that it's typically people that are if they're not successful or if they aren't making a lot of money or whatever, that they typically look to mentors, right? So in our community specifically, we're Vietnamese. My eldest brother is somebody who's relatively successful in our space. He's done really, really well. So a lot of people from our hometown and stuff look to him for advice and that kind of stuff whenever it comes to like decisions or or even like maybe making a career change. They're like, okay, like let me call him up and see what happens. So anyway, just to give a shout out and respect. So anyway, this guy came over to our house in Dallas, and he's over here, and he comes in, and he hangs out, and he's like, he's basically he's here to ask my eldest brother for a job referral, right? Which is cool and all, because my brother, he's worked at a hospital for a long time, so he can give out like badass referrals. So that's not a really big deal at all. But this guy, he comes in here, and he, and we're talking a little bit, and he's like, yeah, man, I just really want to make more money. And I was like, okay, so you want to make more money? Then my first question to him was like, well, what do you want to do? Right? And he was like, well, I don't know. And the funny thing about at least the beginning of this story is basically, he didn't even know what he wanted to do right off the bat. So there's plenty of ways to make money, right? Like we talked about in another episode. There's drug dealing, there's there's copywriting, there's website building, there's funnel building, there's emailing, there's social media marketing. There's so many different ways to make money. So before anything at all, like you have to decide what the hell you want to do, right? Because if you don't decide what you want to do, then there's no way you're ever going to get to 10K. It's like, okay, well, I want to get to 10K a month. Well, 10K a month doing what?
Yeah, and by when?
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the first one. You decide what the hell you want to do. So anyway, so I asked this guy this question, and he couldn't answer me. And so anyway, we're chatting back and forth, and my brother comes out, and they begin their conversation. And my brother says the exact same thing. He's like, okay, so the first question you is like, well, man, like, what do you want to do? He's like, I could write you a referral right now, and you'll go, work a job, packing boxes in a fucking cellar, down in a hospital somewhere. Like, do you want to do that? And he's like, well, no. And I was like, okay, well, what do you not want to do, right? So, and then he was like, well, I don't want to be a pharmacy tech. I don't want to do that. Like, okay, so now you know what you don't want to do. So kind of my point here is, what my eldest brother was kind of alluding to was, If you don't know what you want to do, then you at least know what you don't want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so that's a good starting place to figure out, to kind of go through that process. Like, okay, I don't know what I want to do, but I don't know what I don't want to do. So for example, for me, like I know that I didn't want to work in a hospital because I worked in an ER hospital for 6 months and that crap was terrible. So I knew that escalating that job line any further, like becoming a higher level doctor or anything like that, I was going to become more and more miserable. Right.
Right.
So now I knew, okay, that's not what I don't want to do. And so wrapping up the whole story, and my eldest brother was like, hey, I could write you a referral to get any kind of job you want, like IT job, whatever. But he said I would do you a disservice if I didn't at least like try to get you to think about what you actually wanted to do, because I don't want you to be miserable, doing the job that you're gonna do if it's not something that you actually want to do, right? So I think that's, kind of wrapping up that story. I think that's the most important thing to take away. It's, figuring out what the hell you want to do first, and then how it is you want to make money in the world.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And if it was listening, like, something I struggle with, like it really does take its own kind of skill set of how to set goals properly. Like, the shit's not easy. Um, you definitely have to be specific, but the best analogy I have with it is just like, like think about the GPS on your phone, right? If you go to your GPS and you just say like, hey, I want to go north, like your GPS doesn't fucking get it. Like it's like, okay, cool. Well, like, where do you want to go? Like, you have to actually tell an input, like, tell your GPS where it is you want to go. And then it's going to, it'll pinpoint that location and you just figure out how to get there. So whenever you're specific about what it is that you want and where you want to get to, then you can just kind of reverse engineer it. Right. So if it's financial, right, you want to make $100,000 in a year. Okay, cool. So, in 12 months, you want to make 100 grand. Okay. Well, before you even to figure how the hell you're going to do that, you got to backtrack. Okay, well, how much money should I be making to make 100 grand in a year, right? And how much do I have to have by month 11? How much do I have to have by month 10? And you backtrack that to where you are today, a year prior, and then you have to reverse average. Okay, cool. Like how much do I have to make per day in order to accomplish that goal? And what do I need to do to be able to make that much per day? So, if it's financial, that's the shit that you absolutely have to do. And it's so hard. It really is. I admit it's fucking hard if you don't set goals. Kind of having like a laid out plan, like what exactly it is that you're going to do. And it's the same thing. Like, fucking losing weight. Like, okay, well, oh God, I want to lose weight. I love when I fucking hear people say that. Or chicks, ladies, you do this shit all the time. You scroll out on Instagram, you see some chick or you see like a Beyonce. I remember a girl in college told me that I was training her. Like, oh, I want to look just like Beyonce. I'm like, do you have any fucking idea how much time and training and detail and discipline Beyonce has to have that fucking body? That was the first thing I said to her. Like, I want to be very clear on that. Like, I know you see Beyonce, but do you know what the fuck it takes to be able to have that body? Because if you're not willing to do that, I promise you're not going to look like her. And no one's specific about like, what their goals are. Like, how are you going to lose weight? Like, you think you're just going and doing cardio and doing this, you're all of a sudden like, they're not specific or intentional about like, when they want to lose the weight by. And everyone's like, oh, well, summertime's right around the corner a month from now. I need to lose like 20 pounds. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? All right. So, moral of the story basically is you just have to be very specific and intentional about whatever it is you want to accomplish, and, really backtrack what it takes to be able to get to there, not being broad, and not forcing, like, don't be like, oh, I just want to lose weight and I want to lose 20 pounds by this summer, right? That's not a realistic goal. You're just going to gain the weight back. So, do you have anything else to add to that, Wally?
So I think what you're kind of alluding to here is like, realistic goal setting. Is that right? Does that sound about right?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Yeah. So I definitely have something to add here. So a lot of times, us as entrepreneurs, we have an issue where we're like, we think too far in the future, right? So we're like, oh my gosh, like I'm going to make millions and millions of dollars, right? So the hard part about it is that obviously you want to have your goals that high, like very, very high like that, but then you also have to remember where you are at the same time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And actually take realistic, steps. So for example, like I had an old business partner of mine, like, we numbers in the millions and billions, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, like the last company, that failed, we were like, okay, so that, if a million people use our product, that would be, a certain number of $1 million per month, right? But
Mm-hmm.
that number was too big, like that's not a realistic marker, for example, we got to the 100 to 150 mark, and then we started encountering new problems that we didn't anticipate before, right? And all of a sudden now that million number, like all of a sudden like had to change because, we weren't ready. Like we were thinking too big, but all of a sudden like we're having a crux at, $500 to $1,000. Like, oh crap, you know what I mean? So
Yeah, I remember that. I remember I walked in and I saw y'all had like on the board and stuff your tally markers of what you had to be by per month for the 12 months. I was like, how the fuck are you guys gonna go from zero to that? I'm like, do we have a plan in place to accomplish this or?
I remember that day exactly. But yeah, so just speaking about that exactly. So think about it. If we had set more realistic goals, like for example, instead of thinking like a million people, if we said, okay, like I want to make $10,000 a month. So how many people would it take me to get to $10,000 a month? And
Mm-hmm.
if we would have done like more realistic numbers like that, I think we would have been more successful in what we were doing because think about it like millions is obviously a goal you want to hit, but that's not something that you're going to hit right off the bat. Like you have to develop skills. Like we talked about that before. Like if you don't have the skill set of a 7-figure earner, like you're not going to make 7 figures. It's not happening, right?
Yeah, yeah. And what I'm learning now is less is actually better. So kind of to clarify what Wally's talking about, if it's financial, um, we used to think that, in smaller terms, like, okay, if you have someone on $10 a month or $20 a month or $100 a month, whatever it is, you need a lot of volume of that. So when you're first starting, come to find out, for people that are making lots of money, it's actually better to start vice versa. It's better to have a much higher ticket item. So you have less people to work with to hit those goals first. And then when you kind of develop those skills and you have the capital for marketing, then you go after the lower ticket, like $10 a month, $20 a month, $100, whatever, for the mass volume. And I think that was, honestly, I think that was a really big mistake with the last company that we kind of dove into because we didn't have the skill set to be able to do that yet.
Yep, I agree with that. And so, like, yeah, we were trying to implement a higher level marketing strategy than what we had, basically.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And it worked. I mean, like in theory, it worked good on paper, but then in application, we figured out there's like a lot of like, you need some capital, like you need some money to fund that marketing organization. We needed to figure out a way that didn't require capital, like an organic style. And so that's kind of like where we kind of had that crux.
Oh yeah, I remember looking at y'all's website. I was like, "You guys are going to do that with this fucking website." I was like, "Wally, bro, you need to get into funnels, like
Mm-hmm.
literally, you need to learn this shit, and then
And
open up a
then
whole new world for Wally." He's like, "Oh my god."
I love funnels. Hashtag funnel hacker forever.
He's like, "Oh my god." I was like, "Yes, Wally." He's like, "This is what you need." I was like, "That website, horrible. You're never going to do it, but now this will do it."
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yes, and just another thing here is and by the way, this kind of relates to goal setting, but I think it's important that we also address this. But just think about it like this. So I used to make funnels for this for this other company all the time, right? And I would make a new funnel, like weekly, right? I felt like Dylan remembers. And the craziness about it, right, is that you never actually tested each funnel.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like we would make edits and we would ever, but we never like would actually like implement enough clicks or enough traffic to actually like make a educated decision. And so what I'm kind of alluding to here is that if you don't have a goal in mind, then when stuff gets created like that, you have no idea what to do with it. Like you just sit there and you're like, okay, well, do I do I run Facebook ads to it? Like we had no idea to say, like we weren't saying like, okay, I'm gonna make $5,000 a month out of this funnel somehow. Like we weren't trying to optimize it. We were just kind of playing guesswork the whole time. Like we had no solid goal or solid mission to say, okay, like this is where I want to get to. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. And if you're listening now too, and you have no idea what the fuck Wally's talking about, if he's speaking like a lingo that's like different language to you, we'll dive more into like what a funnel is and shit like that, like another podcast episode. But in a nutshell, it's just taking people down a path of warming them up, turning them to like knowing who you are, and then turning them into buyers. And if you kind of imagine a funnel, what a funnel looks like, taking a bunch of people, throwing them to it, and guiding them down a path. That's what it is. We'll get into what softwares we use and other podcasts, and give you guys links to whatever you can use and dive more into that further. So don't get too confused on what he's saying. But if you are an entrepreneur, you better fucking know what a funnel is. If you are in business, you better know that shit. But yeah. But no, like, so, hope that's just kind of our 2 cents right now on, the importance of goal setting and just kind of what we've learned from other successful people, mistakes that we have definitely made in the past, being very intentional and specific. And like, I'm not kidding you guys. Like, I'm telling you, like when we sit down and we meet and talk to you, like very successful, I'm talking 10x plus what we are. They are like very specific and intentional on everything. Like they have everything down to a fucking T. It's almost scary how detailed that they can get, and how whenever it happens, it like when you look at their plan. That's funny. I'll give you a friend of mine, David, who made he finally hit his $1 million a year. But he mapped out his entire plan while he was on an airplane, and he had like a 2-hour flight. He's like, screw it. Like he just came back from a mastermind that he paid a lot of money for, and was like mapping everything out to a T. Like bam, bam, bam. Like this is what I need to be at for this. This is what I need to be at for that. And then when he hit those goals in the month, he looked at it and he looked at his plan. He's like, holy shit. Like everything he put down on that piece of paper, like was fluid. Like, I mean, fluid. Like it was almost scary how fucking accurate like it was, and the details. So, the devil is definitely in the details. You do have to be specific if you want to accomplish any type of goal. And, maybe we'll do more, more stuff on that in the future. So definitely type, below in the comments if you liked today's episode, or if you have any questions about goal setting, or, anything else you want us to hype on, talk more about. If you're on YouTube, put it in the comments. If you follow us on Reddit, we'll put a link below as well, so you can, reach out to us directly on Reddit. Wally's definitely going to be on there a lot more than me. He's an avid Reddit user.
Love Reddit.
Yeah, definitely. And, if you guys want to keep up to date anytime we release our podcast, and, follow us, guys, you can follow us on Instagram. My Instagram handle is at Dylan Starr, DYLAN Starr, STARR official. I don't want to explain to you guys how to spell official. I hope you can spell that. And Wally, why don't you go ahead and tell them where they can find you?
I am Wally _ the robot. So WALLY _ the robot.
Yeah, like the movie, except Wally builds bots.
Correct.
Wally builds robots. He is the man to build shit. So thank you guys so much. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I hope today was a good episode for you guys. Drop a little knowledge for you, and tune in for the next episode.